What's up, everyone? Who loves food? I remember when I first started college and I was on my own. That was the moment I realized I could eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. A whole plate of bacon for breakfast? Of course. Taco Bell for lunch? Yes. Taco Bell for dinner? Of course. Cookout for second dinner? Definitely. Taco Bell at 2 in the morning? Yes. However, I quickly learned eating out costed a lot of money and my body was slowly beginning to hate me. I knew I needed to make some diet changes, but I wasn't super excited to actually make those changes. I saw eating whatever I wanted one way, but I had to learn to view it another way. Let me put your mind at ease. This lesson isn't about what you choose to eat. It's about the fact that if you're anything like me, there are some things in your life that could use changing. For you, maybe it's school. Maybe you know your geometry grade could use some improvement, but you also know that it will require more time studying and less time playing video games. And you know that if you dial down your gaming, you're going to miss out on time with your friends. Or maybe you need to get serious about practice, whether it's soccer practice, band, or debate club. Right now, you're just coasting, and you know with some more work, you could take things to the next level. Or maybe it's a little more real. Maybe it's about a friend who isn't the best influence on you, but you've known him or her since preschool. And if you pull away from them, it will affect the entire group's dynamic. Or maybe it goes even deeper. Maybe it's about the words you use when you talk to others. You're always the funny one in class with the quickest comebacks, but you're also the one who can hurt someone with your quick wit. And while you like getting the laughs, you're starting to think this isn't the kind of thing you want to be known for. Maybe it's an issue of addiction. A habit that's hurting you or hurting other people. A poor choice you make over and over. We all have something we need to change. But no matter the issue, no matter the change, there's a common thread that runs through every situation. When it comes to making a change, it's easy to see we need to do something. But it's really difficult to actually do what needs to be done. But why is that? If we know we need to make a change that's for the good, and it benefits us and other people, why don't we just do it? I think there's a few reasons why this is so challenging. First, we're afraid to fail. This is universal. No one ever wants to fail. And if the past is any indicator, we are going to fail. Second, we're afraid to stand out. For some of us, it's easier just to roll with a B average in class, be the second chair, or be extra number 3 in a school play instead of being the lead actor. We want to care, but not too much. We like attention, but we don't necessarily want the wrong kind of attention. We don't want to be seen as someone who tries too hard. So we keep doing what we've always done so we don't draw attention to ourselves. Third, we don't want to seem judgmental. If we start changing certain behaviors or attitudes, we're worried that people will think that we think we're too good for them because they haven't changed. Let's say your group of guy friends talks a certain way about girls, and you decide you don't feel comfortable talking that way anymore. But if you change this, you risk looking weird or judgmental. Plus, there's a chance that they won't think they can be themselves around you anymore. So is there any way to win here? Finally, we don't attempt change because it seems overwhelming. Between school, homework, volleyball practice, and your part-time job, anything more seems exhausting to even think about. Working on something to make your life better just seems like a whole lot of trouble. Now that I've depressed everybody, I actually have some good news. Making a change is possible, and it can benefit you even beyond the actual change itself. Today, we're going to look at a passage of scripture from the letter written by James. James was the half-brother of Jesus, but he didn't always believe Jesus was the Son of God. And to be fair, it's tough to believe that kind of claim when you share a bedroom with the person as a kid. But after Jesus died and then came back to life, James knew Jesus really was God's son. He soon became a prominent leader in the early group of Jesus' followers. But before we get to what he said in his letter, let me give you a little background. During one of Jesus' last talks with his followers, he told them that they would be his witnesses in their hometown and beyond, that they would take his message of grace, forgiveness, and the gospel to the very ends of the earth. Jesus was telling them to make a change, to move beyond their comfort zones and out into the world. This was a big vision that can make big impact. But at first, that didn't happen. Jesus' followers were on board with the gospel, but the idea of carrying that message around the world was intimidating. So most of them stayed right where they were. And then something changed. The early Christians started to be persecuted for their beliefs. Some were even being put to death. And this crackdown on the church caused people to scatter from their cities and homes, which is exactly what Jesus had told them to do in the first place. This dramatic change in their lives propelled them to share the gospel in new places, while also growing their faith and dependence on God. This is what was happening in the world when James wrote to the Jewish Christians in his letter. One of the things he said was this: "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy." Really? Consider joy when you experience trouble? That doesn't sound right, especially when this wasn't just any trouble. This was the kind of trouble that could lead to death. But James isn't finished. Check out what James says next. "For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." We're all familiar with endurance, but we usually associate that with athletics. When we train and push past our limits, over time, our bodies will adapt to meet those new limits. We may struggle to bench a certain weight, but eventually it becomes easier. And then you need to add more weight, which challenges you to grow even stronger. James's words mean endurance isn't just for the gym. It works in every area of life. When we push through the pain and struggle of any kind, including the struggle to change, we don't just become better at the specific thing, we develop personal endurance. We develop an inner strength that can help us in other areas and challenges. And then James says this: "So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." In other words, pushing through the pain and hard stuff, enduring, doesn't just make you better at the thing you're working on, but you're actually learning how to change. It's like you're developing a muscle of endurance that will help you when you face any kind of change. And when you have this perspective, every change you face is another opportunity to grow, not just personally, but spiritually. Think of it this way: God can change the way you see change. When it comes to change, our tendency is to focus on all the negative parts, all the terrible that comes with it. But when we see change as something that has trickle-down effect into every area, we see that it's more about becoming better than it is about becoming uncomfortable. When we view change this way, the way God does, we recognize that it's about growth. It's a positive thing, because it's all about growing as a person, friend, daughter, or son, developing better character. I realize that this idea doesn't get everybody excited about tackling goals, improving grades, and exercising. Like we've already said, it's a tough sell for all of us. But it probably felt that way for the reader of James's letter as well. And keep in mind that they were trying to avoid being murdered for their faith. But James is telling them that when we trust who God is and what he's like, we can be sure that God is doing something in us, no matter how uncomfortable the change may be. So whatever we have to do to endure and persevere through the change, it's worth it, because there's a bigger picture God is painting. This is so important for you to get at the stage of life you're in, because even though change is absolutely challenging now, it will only grow more challenging as you get older. Life doesn't become more simple as you move into new stages. It gets more complex. You'll exchange schoolwork for a career. You might exchange a dating relationship for marriage. You might exchange your family now for a family of your own one day. And the strength you develop now will be the strength you take with you into your future. So when you pursue endurance in the face of change now, you'll be better prepared for even bigger challenges in the future. And ultimately, developing personal endurance will build and deepen your faith. I want to encourage you to change the way that you see change. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do this week. I'm asking you to change your perspective on the things in front of you. That thing that you know you need to change. I'm asking you to see it as an opportunity to grow your faith, endurance, and character. So instead of saying, I'm working hard to change this one thing, say, I'm working hard to become a person who changes things. Maybe even tell a few friends, your parents, or your small group leader about the change you want to make. Ask them to encourage you. It's so powerful to have people who give us the encouragement and perspective we need. So invite others into the change process. You'll be amazed at how much this can speed things up. I want you to pick one area that you think you need to change or you believe God is calling you to change. And then change the way you see it. Decide to think of it not as changing what you do, but as working on who you are. And trust God to help you get there. As you do, you may just find that a part of your life that feels impossible to change is actually subject to change.